Today, I'm going to tell you why I think The Walking Dead All-Out War from Mantic Games might just be the ultimate gateway game. Hi folks, welcome back to the channel. So let me begin with some background about how I reached this conclusion, and then let me tell you about why I think it. So a couple of weeks ago, I was out for a few beers with my brother-in-law. Now we're both 40-something geeks and we both play a lot of online gaming together, specifically PlayStation 4. And he buys every new game that's released. However, he's not into tabletop gaming at all. He knows I am, and he's obviously given me a little bit of a ribbon about this channel, but we got chatting over a few beers about gaming in general. He suggested, next time instead of having a night down the pub, we should have a gaming night. Get a few beers, order in a takeaway, and I could show him how to play one of my games. Now, he's never shown any interest before, and I've never wanted to come across like some kind of born-again gamer, so this really surprised me. The question was, what game would I introduce him to tabletop gaming with that wouldn't send him running for the hills on his first taster session? I weighed up all of the options of what I thought this game needed to cover. It needed to be relatively quick to play. If it was going to be a 4-hour game, I think I'd lose him before he was hooked in any kind of gaming. It had to be relatively easy to learn. It needed to be something that was almost instinctive after a couple of turns, so he felt he was really playing the game and not just trying to pass an exam on the rules. And it needed to look visually appealing, not just kind of coloured tokens and a quite a plain board. So I started to look through my collection to see what would fit the bill. First of all, I considered Guild Ball. The Kickoff starter box set has everything you need to be able to play a 2-player game out of the box. It's got a football theme, which is easy to understand for non-gamers. It has combat, which after all is what we're all looking for in a tabletop game. And the miniatures are single-piece coloured plastics, which means out of the box it's easy to understand who's on your team and who's on your opponent's team. I then discounted it for a couple of reasons. One, my brother-in-law isn't into football, he's not a fan, so this may have been a barrier for him. And then secondly, some of the best bits of the game come when you understand the intricacies of the combos and the links between players. This isn't something that he'll pick up on his first ever tabletop experience. Next, I looked at Gears of War, the board game. The computer game link would be obviously a massive draw for him, and he could connect from the start. The mechanics of the game closely mirror the digital version with the cover system and the weapons. And of course, the miniatures that come with the game are every Gears of War fan's dream. I then discounted it again because actually it's no longer in print. Imagine playing your first game, loving it so much that you want to rush out and buy it the next day, only for me to say, oh no, you can't buy it anymore. You used to be able to buy it, but it's out of print now. You could pay a small fortune on eBay and buy a second-hand copy if you really want it. It had to be something you could pick up cheaply and easily if you wanted to. Blood Bowl was another option. There's obviously the new box set available, which has been around for about 6 months now, along with the other teams that have been released more recently. The sculpts from Games Workshop are obviously amazing. Everything comes in the box needed to get started. The theme, while being sports orientated, isn't so much of a barrier this time, I think, as the humorous fantasy setting seems to elevate it above purely a sports game. This was a real contender. The only reason I discounted it was that it's his first experience of tabletop gaming. There's a lot of tactics to be found in Blood Bowl, and I've found that when you're first starting out, your initial games can be very tough to kind of play through until you begin to understand 2-dice blocks and whether to block and when not to block and avoid it, and when to cage up and such like. It's a great tabletop game, there's no doubt. However, as a first ever introduction, I think it might be too steep a curve. One I can't go without mentioning is obviously XWing. The theme is very obvious to all, and both me and my brother-in-law are big Star Wars fans. The starter boxes, whilst not having much in the way of ships inside, do offer enough to introduce you to the game, and at around £37 recommended price for the core box set, it's a great entry price point. The mechanics are simple enough to understand from the off, visually the pre-painted ships look amazing, and it really does capture the theme of those New Hope dogfight scenes. This was probably my front runner at this point, and the reason I discounted it was that I felt it was too different from the majority of tabletop games. It wouldn't truly give him an insight into why I was addicted to this tabletop hobby. The models come pre-painted. There's very little in the way of pimping out the game at a later stage other than maybe buying a 3x3 mat. I wanted him to be inspired to build and paint and collect. Maybe if I hooked him in with his first session, he'd be playing Age of Sigmar by Christmas. For this reason, I decided to keep XWing for another day. It was then that I picked up The Walking Dead All-Out War. The theme, whilst based on the graphic novels, is familiar to anyone who's also seen the TV show. Even if you haven't, there's enough fascination with zombies in geek culture to instantly get across the theme. My brother-in-law is currently heavily playing 7 Days to Die on PlayStation 4, so I knew the zombie theme would be a real winner. The models come as single-piece miniatures, so if he decided to pick this up for himself, there's no initial hobby skills needed, and if he does get bitten by the hobby bug, he can go on to paint them at a later stage. The mechanics are initially very simple: move, run, shoot, fight. However, you very quickly pick up on the tactics around when to make noise and when not to make noise. The game can be played single player, co-op, or versus, which means I could help him in his first game against the walkers rather than play against him. If he picks it up, he can then play alone, and we can play 1 versus 1 once he's up to speed. The starter box is also amazing value. At £35 recommended retail price and obviously available with discount online, the starter box can be picked up for less than the price of a new PlayStation 4 game. If I'd introduced him to, say, Silver Tower and said, yeah, it's £95, I think he might have had heart failure. The game comes with a paper playing mat and 2D terrain. If he wants to pimp it out later, there's 3D terrain and neoprene mats available. He doesn't have to search the internet to try and guess what's the right scale or what will fit with the game. As a new player, I think this can be a real help. It's easy to explain how to play, and it plays quite fast, so we can done in about an hour or so. There's no need to drag out a long game and have to keep referring to the rulebook over and over again. The vast majority of the information he'll need to play will be on the cards in front of him. On top of that, it really is a great game to play. It captures the theme perfectly. There's a real sense of threat as the tracker increases, and every movement, gunshot, or shambling walker creates a real cinematic feel. It's for these reasons that this weekend I'll be introducing my brother-in-law to the world of tabletop gaming by opening a few beers, ordering a pizza, and breaking out The Walking Dead All-Out War. Thanks for watching, see you in the next video.